I am very aware that I may not actually achieve my Goodreads challenge this year, and it's the shortest one I've done yet. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I am Felicity Madison and I write fantasy fiction, and I've also written a short story. These are the books here that I've written so far. Thought I'd give you an update on my 2025 Goodreads challenge, or just my reading challenge in general. It's not going so well, I don't think. I mean, I say that. I may not achieve it this year, even though I have 5 or 6 books left. I think I've got 19. I've done 19 at the minute. And my goal for this year was 24, which, yes, is very, very small, but I obviously set myself a plan of writing and doing other stuff this year, and it's just been busy, and I've been in a bit of a reading slump, I'm not going to lie, but I've had a few books of late that have helped me get me out of that rut. So I think what I'll do is just give you a roundup of what I've done so far, or how many books I've read so far, which ones I've read, my brief ratings of them, and then I will give you a little rundown of what I'm going to read in October. Right, I'm going to use my iPad to bring up the Goodreads app. What have we got so far? The Dip, a little book that teaches you when to quit. So that's my first book of this year, of 2025. That was recommended to me by another YouTuber, and I can't remember who it was. I wanted to read it for a bit of motivational tips. It was all right. What did I give it? So The Dip is written by Seth Godwin and proves that winners are really just the best quitters. The premise of the book is every night starts out fun, then gets really hard and not much fun at all. You might be in a dip, a temporary setback that will get better if you keep pushing, but maybe it's really a cul-de-sac and a total dead end. What really sets superstars apart is the ability to tell the two apart. Winners seek out the dip. They realise the bigger the barrier, the bigger the reward for getting past it. If you can beat the dip to be the best, you'll earn profits, glory, and long-term security. Whether you're an intern or a CEO, this fun little book will help you figure out if you're in a dip that's worthy of your time, effort, and talents. The old saying is wrong: winners do quit, and quitters do win. I don't know how true that is. I rated it 3-star. I occasionally dip into self-help books, and I prefer the stuff on like business, even though I'm not an entrepreneur. But when you self-publish as an author, you do have to do a lot of the marketing and the business side and handle all of that yourself. So I have obviously been in a bit of a dip when it comes to writing. I wouldn't call it a block, it's more of a case of I'm procrastinating and holding off doing it. Wanted that as a little bit of motivation this year. I do remember that's why I thought I'd read it. It's very, very short. I think I listened to the audiobook version and it was about 4 hours. So if you want a self-help book that is, not woo-woo and actually does give you some advice and isn't repetitive, I do remember thinking that this wasn't repetitive, like things like Atomic Habits, that's a repetitive book, and give that a go. Listen to the audio because it's easy and you can get it done in a couple of car rides or in one if you're travelling far. My second book of the year was McDonagh. This is the author of There's Something I Have to Tell You, which I raved about last year. Really, really good author. She does like mystery thriller books. She's Irish, and I listened to the audio versions of her book. The narrator, which is Michelle Moran, brilliant, just really good. This one is based on a girl called Cara, who is adoptive, and as her adoptive mother lays dying, she hears something that then leads on the path to discover that she may be connected to a woman, Lucia Casey, who was murdered and buried in a bog over 30 years ago. A little bit of a spoiler, they're connected somehow. Just her books are great. So honestly, if you love a good murder mystery thriller, definitely read this book. I would listen to it again. Like, it's so good. This is one of the books I wouldn't return from my Audible library because it's that good. I gave that one a 5-star. That shows how much I like that book. I did realise, actually, going back through my Goodreads, that I'd rated some of these books too high. That one was good. I've gone back through and downgraded my stars, so I'll get to those in a minute. Third book of the year was Onyx by Rebecca Yarros. I went back and downgraded this from, I think I did it as a 4 because I liked the ending of this one. Or not like the ending, I just thought the second half was better than the other 2 previous books in the series, the Empyrean series. yeah, I downgraded it back to a 3. I might do it to a 2, mainly because the best bit in this book was when McDonagh, the second dragon, meets her kin, and that was the best bit. The rest of the book is just the same as the last 2. The leads are very irritating. Again, I listened to the audio of that one. I started listening to the Poppy War, the trilogy, so the first book in the trilogy by R.F. Kuang. So obviously she does Yellowface, and what was the other one? Babel, which I've still not read yet, and her recent one that has just come out is Katabasis. This is such a good book. It's all about a combination of history, so and the Opium Wars, except for the British here are kind of another clan, or maybe they've led on from another clan. That's what I get from it. My favourite character in this is Master Huang, who is the protagonist Rin's master. Nobody wants to work with him because he's crazy and he dabbles in a bit of opium himself, but he's brilliant, and he turns out to be quite a key figure towards the end. So I mean, he's just hilarious. Trigger warnings, there are some chapters where it features violence. Just be warned, I did listen to this, and when I was out running, when I was training for my half marathon, I had to stop at one point because it got quite graphic, and I was a bit shocked. When you're trying to run and concentrate and just keep a smooth plane, it's definitely a bit graphic, so just be warned. But honestly, read it, really good. Her writing is incredible. I've got the second book ready to go on Kindle. I'm not yet ready for it because I know it's going to be a dark fantasy. It's not going to be one of the books that I read in October, but maybe something that I listen to in November. I gave The Poppy Wars a 5-star. So I'm not going to give any spoilers with the next book because it's another thriller, and I think you just need to read or listen to it to enjoy it because it is good. This is Taken by Dinuka McKenzie, and this sees the return of Detective Kate Miles, return from maternity leave, having to deal with some repercussions of her previous case. Now she's also been put in charge of the case of a missing child who's been abducted, and they don't know who's done it. So it's the chase to find the child who has done it. Great book, not going to give you any spoilers. I read the ebook for this one, and I just went back in and actually downgraded it to a 4-star because it was good. And I give something a 5-star, I need to have more of an emotional pull with it. Either needs to like really grip me, upset me, or make me sad, or make me cry. So I've given it a 4. So really good, but it gets a 4 from me. My 6th and my 7th book, we now get into something a little bit more fun. So I previously read the Twisted series by Anna Huang, and now this year I started reading her Kings of Sin. I say reading, listening to Kings of Sin. The first book is King of Wrath, and then the one that I followed up with was King of Pride. King of Wrath sees Dante Russo and Vivian Lau pitted against each other. They're both from rich families. Vivian's family has come from nothing and made their way up into the world, and it's all about marrying off her and her sister into prestigious families, one of which is the Russo family. And obviously this is a spicy romance, contemporary romance, just really easy listening. I did think the narration was really good for this one. I think the characters were both quite strong in this one. Just like with Anna Kuang's Twisted series, the first book is definitely the best book out of the lot so far. So I then read King of Pride. So it didn't really like give off Pride vibes. I think it was more the female character. Isabella is one of the female characters in one of Vivian's friends from the previous books, and she is from a rich family, but she's hiding this from her friends, and even because they're a private family, so she's hiding it from her friends, and she's also hiding it from the love interest, which is Kai Young, who is from a rich family in the UK. The problem with this book, and problem with listening to audio, which I think I've said before, is that if you don't get a good narrator, then the story kind of goes downhill quite rapidly. The narrator for Kai was dreadful. I don't think they were British, and normally that's not a problem, but they just couldn't do a British accent. And when you're listening to a book and a character's being described, Kai's meant to be of Asian heritage. All I could picture was some drippy white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes, like just not attractive at all, like not even off any sexy vibes. The accent just didn't do it for me. It's just no. So I rated it down for that. I think I gave it a 3. I went back in and gave it a 3 because although the storyline was okay, it was nowhere as good as King of Wrath. So King of Pride's okay, but it's just not as good as the first book. Don't know if I said, but I gave King of Wrath a 5-star because it was just the best one. And my 8th book of the year was 38 Londres Street, which is about Pinochet, how different authorities tried to get him convicted for his war crimes in South America. So I'm just going to read the synopsis out for you for this, because some people of a certain age will not know a lot about Pinochet. If you're not from South America, you probably won't know about Pinochet. He's a very troubling character. So, the arrest of Augusto Pinochet in London in October 1998 was a landmark moment. It was the first time that a former head of state had been arrested on charges of genocide and crimes against humanity while travelling abroad. 5 decades after the Nuremberg trial, the Pinochet case was the moment in which the idea of international criminal justice came alive once more. The central narrative of Pinochet in London is that untold story, the circumstances of his arrest for crimes committed after he came to power on the 11th September 1973. Relatedly, it's a tale about legal principles invented in 1945 and first invoked in Nuremberg's courtroom 600, the end of immunity and personal stories, and in Chile, Spain and Britain, a victim, a lawyer, a prosecutor, a friend, and a judge. So the book basically brings together all these people from different backgrounds. You have the people who are protecting Pinochet and fighting for him in the courts. You have the European Union, and in particular Spain, trying to get Pinochet committed for crimes against humanity against Spanish citizens in Chile. Then there is also the thread of rat line in South America. So I've said this before, I read a book called The Rat Line. This book is also written by the same author, who is a human rights lawyer. He's a British human rights lawyer called Philippe Sands. Incredible lawyer, incredible books that he writes, because they kind of read like thrillers, all of them, but they're all based on true stories. He was involved in this as a junior lawyer. So it's incredible how he's mixed in with all these cases. Such a good read. If you like a bit of true crime / history / politics, like, this is such a good read. Like I said, it links back into the Rat Line, where we have former Nazi hiding out in Chile and Patagonia. So it's, yeah, definitely a good read. Pick it up. 5 stars, obviously, history book, brilliant. The 9th book is 4,000 Weeks. Again, this is all to do with time management, which is what I needed this year to help me with getting back into possibly doing like time blocking, all that stuff. But it's all about time management for mortals. Again, just a really quick self-help book. Highly recommend it if you want some tips. I think I probably gave this one a 4. Let's have a look. Yeah, 4. Quick synopsis. What if you stopped trying to do everything so that you could finally get around to what counts? We're obsessed with our lengthening to-do lists, our overfilled inboxes, the struggle against distraction, and the sense that our attention spans are shrivelling. So 4,000 Weeks is an uplifting, engrossing, and deeply realistic exploration of the challenge, rejecting the futile modern obsession with getting everything done. So I did actually find this quite helpful, because I tend to rush a lot of things and then I make mistakes, and not just in my writing, but everyday life. So it helps you reflect and slow down and concentrate on things, or concentrate on a few things and doing them well. So if you're a bit like me, your head's all over the place and you need a little bit more structure, this is a great book for giving you some tips on how to do things better and manage your time better and not rush things and not get stressed, and just a slow pace to getting things done. I gave that one a 4-star. So the next book was King of Greed, so the 3rd instalment of the Kings of Sin by Anna Huang. This one is about a married couple for a change. So it's Dominic and Alessandra Davenport, and he's just neglected her. They were basically college sweethearts. She's helped him to create this amazing career. He's this billionaire, but he's neglected his very beautiful wife, so she wants a divorce because she's had enough, because he pays her little to no attention. And then it's all about them breaking up and getting back together, and the journey of Alessandra doing her own business, which is like really sad. It's very sweet, but it's very sad at the same time on how she's come up with this business idea, because it is linked to her husband, and the love that they have for each other. So this one actually, weirdly, out of nowhere, made me feel quite emotional. It was a very lovely story. So that, I would say, was the second best book in the series so far. Definitely recommend listening to that one. The audio for that one was really good as well. That one was a 5-star because I actually felt emotional listening to it. Then we get on to The Secret Collector by Abigail Johnson. She is a debut author and this is her debut book. This is all about a young kid called Kuang who's in and out of trouble. He's been in loads of foster homes. His younger brother is with a foster family and there's a real chance that he'll never see his younger brother again because his younger brother may be adopted into a family. And as the story goes on, he breaks into the widower Alfred's home, but as part of keeping him on the straight and narrow so that Kuang doesn't go into prison, they enter into the restorative justice program. Victim and the perpetrator have to work together because Alfred is actually a hoarder. Since his wife passed away, he's got a real issue with keeping his house livable, basically, and is fallen out with his daughter because she's tried to help him and he won't have it. So hoarding is obviously a mental health issue. So in order for Kuang to also avoid going to prison, he needs to help clear Alfred's home and make it more livable for him. They have their difficulties and spats along the way, obviously, because Kuang broke into his home. But it's a really sweet story, really good read, really enjoyed it, and I actually would like to read her next book when it comes out. So if you like a sweet story and a happy ending, I think that's what they are, like books that have happy endings, just pick it up. It's a good read, especially when you've been reading like high fantasy or dark history like I have recently. It's a good uplifting story, so definitely recommend that one. Gave that one a 5 stars. Now back to Australian crime thrillers. This is the second book, called The Prisoner by R.S. White. I thought R.S. White was Australian. He's actually British and apparently worked in the police force in the UK for 12 years, then did a course in creative writing and now lives in Australia. He writes crime in an Australian setting and he lives out in Australia, so therefore he's obviously included in the Australian crime author fiction genre. I'm not sure about S.R. White. I read Hermit, the first book, which was okay, and this follows Detective Dana Russo, another Russo, that character. I don't know, I think the writing is it's very slow, it's very hard to get into. It was slightly better than the first book. This one follows a prisoner that has just been released. He's taken in by these sisters who have a very strange relationship with each other and the outside world, but he basically gets literally crucified. He's killed and crucified and found by a passerby, and it's all about who's done it and why. I actually can't remember the ending to this because I just didn't really relate to it. I'm obviously not going to relate to being crucified, but I mean, didn't give me the wow factor, so it's okay. I feel like it's very much like Chris Hammer's Scrublands series. It's a lot of police procedure and tactics and not really getting into the story and the characters. I prefer crime thriller that is based heavily more on the characters than it is on police procedures. I gave this one a 3. It's all right, but it's not the best detective series. I just realised I've missed one of the books out. So before King of Sloth, I actually read an indie author, Katie Wismer, and this is from her Sweet Spire series. So she's got 2 out at the minute. I don't know if she's writing the 3rd one, but I'm sure there'll be more. The first one was Tell Me It's Right, and the second one was Tell Me It's Wrong. They're really good. It just goes to show that you don't need to be traditionally published to find a really good author. So these are contemporary romance, and Tell Me It's Right is about a girl that comes back from college and she's always fancied her brother's mate, and she starts working for him, but he's overcoming a bad relationship with an abusive ex-girlfriend. So there's a few bumps in the road. She then heads out to Philadelphia, I think it is, because she wants to pick up more clients, and she does like marketing. And yeah, it's just a really sweet story. Really enjoyed it. Very well written. I think the ending was quite abrupt to this, which I wanted to learn more about their relationship, and it kind of just came to an abrupt end, but other than that, it's really well written. And then her other book is Tell Me It's Wrong. So this is about a guy from the first book, so the love interest in the first book, Liam, and his stepmom, Christine, who is now divorcing his dad because the dad's a bit of a prick. And she then has a one-night stand with Liam's mate. So the awkwardness is there. I still think the first book was better. I thought there would have been more of a twist with one of the characters. The male protagonist is Fletcher, so Christine's love interest and one-night stand that then leads to a relationship, obviously. Thought there would have been more of a twist though, because he was in the foster system. He then got adopted by his current family. An old foster sister comes back into his life and she's quite disruptive. So I would have thought there would have been more of a twist with that, or maybe like a love triangle, but it didn't actually pan out that way. So I was quite surprised by that. It was a good book though, so I am enjoying the Sweet Spire series and looking forward to reading the next one. She also has a fantasy, romantasy story, spicy romantasy story called The Marionettes. So I might dip into that as well. I gave all of those books a 5. We're nearly there on these. I've got 4 more to do and review. So, The Source, The Secrets of the Universe, The Science of the Brain by Tara Swart. Now, if you've read The Secret, and that's obviously all about manifestation, yada, 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 The Source is actually all to do with your brain and how you can retrain yourself to basically be more positive and put actions in place in order to achieve your goals. So instead of the opposite of that, which is something like The Secret, when all you have to do is like just put out loads of good energy and manifestations and do your vision boards, this is more of a practical approach and incorporates those things that maybe The Secret would do, but it's actually about you getting off your ass and doing stuff to be able to achieve stuff in your life and not expecting it to just come to you because you're wishing for it. So this is definitely more of a me book. I like things that are more practical, that make more sense, that there's some positivity in a self-help book, and there's some science behind this. So I'm going to give you a bit of a brief overview, which is from the Goodreads description. Life-changing opportunities pass us by every day. Now we can train our minds to seize them. Self-help books like The Secret promise that we can control our destiny by reshaping our minds. Despite skepticism, these systems have been used by millions of people for generations. Because most of the things we want from life, health, happiness, wealth, love, are governed by our ability to think, feel and act, in other words, by our brain. What if a neuroscientist could take the best of The Secret, together with its original source book, The Master Key System, and make it accessible for a new generation? What if a book offered a rigorous, proven toolkit for unlocking your minds and reaching your fullest potential? The neuroscientist, Dr. Tara Swart, and that book is The Source. So it gives you like loads of things to action, basically tells you to get a journal and start putting in, like looking at your past, putting in things into perspective, working through things that may be hindering you, and then putting into action and coming up with an action plan in order to be able to achieve your goals, whilst, like I said before, using some of the techniques and tools that The Secret gave you but doesn't actually really tell you how to do it. I've not started using it yet, so we'll see, but I did really enjoy it and it made way more sense to me than any of this like fluffy stuff that you get on the internet. So highly recommend it. I've given it a 5-star for now. I have bought myself a journal which it recommends so that you can start doing your action plan. I think I'm going to buy the paperback so I can actually go back through and make some notes in it, do some annotations, bookmark a load of things, especially where it tells you to do certain exercises to get going with stuff. So yeah, highly recommend it. Really useful and really helpful. Back to Some of This Is True. This follows an American girl from Boston called Jessie DeMarco. The opening scene is of her talking to someone at the top of the Wishing Well stairs, I believe, at Blarney Castle. She falls and she dies. Her mother, Danny DeMarco, then gets a call and has to come over to Blarney in court to get her daughter's remains. And it turns out that Jessie was over there trying to look for her father, her birth father, and it all escalates from there. I'm not going to say any more about that story, just the fact that it's really fast-paced. Really cannot guess who actually pushed Jessie down the stairs. Just really good. Again, listen to the audio. Michelle Moran did the audio again, and she now does all the Cork accents, which are incredible. Then I got recommended another book after this, which isn't Michelle McDonagh, because I don't think she's got any more out at the minute. Another thriller book set in Ireland, which is The Trial, which I'll get onto in a minute. So in between the two thrillers, I then read The Story of a Murder, which is about the wife and the mistress of Dr. Hawley Harvey Crippen, who was basically a fraudster and a charlatan doctor in late 1800s, early 1900s. There's a mystery around the death of his first wife in America. So Dr. Crippen is American, and he came over to the UK with his second wife, Belle Elsmore, which was her stage name, and then she goes missing, and he makes up all these ridiculous stories about she's gone back to America with her lover. Just all these silly little lies that, if you're like me and listen to loads of true crime podcasts, you see all the red flags. But back then, most people probably wouldn't have seen these red flags apart from her friends, because Belle Elsmore was a very popular individual in her circle of entertainers, and they're the ones that raised the alarms, and it took a while for the police to realise what was going on. It's a true story, a gruesome true story by the author Hallie Rubenhold. So yeah, second book I've read of hers, really enjoyed it. It's quite big, it's this one here, so I went for the hardback. Such a cool cover, and then it opens up. So that's Belle. Because it's a historical true crime book, there's obviously some pictures of Dr. Crippen, who I want to say is a very unattractive man, and I don't care what people say that was the style of the day. That is not a good looking man. God knows how he attracted all these women, but yeah, really good book. I would say if you want to pick up the paperback or the hardback, a lot of this is bibliography, because the author has done a lot of research. Yeah, really good book. Another history book and another crime book. I gave that one a 4 star. So the most recent book that I have finished before we get on to my October reads is The Trial by Jo Spain, another Irish author. This is set in the College of St Edmunds, which is just on the outskirts of Dublin. I don't know if it's a real college or not, it might just be made up. I didn't even check that. She meets a guy called Théo Laurent when she's there. So it originally starts back in 2013. He then goes missing in 2014. So her lover, Théo Laurent, goes missing. He is a French student, and she then tries to raise the alarm because it's not usual for Théo to go missing. Nobody wants to listen to her. Théo is never found. And then fast forward to 10 years, so 2024, and Danny returns to the college. She's returned to lecture in history at the college. It's such a good story. It keeps you on the edge of your seat the whole time. Like, you just feel like stressed and tense because you're wondering what's going to happen next and who did it and what happened to Théo. Many different characters and all their different flaws, and Danny has flaws and she's got secrets, and so does Théo, and she's discovering these in flashbacks to 2014, back to 2024. The ending, not what I wanted it to be, but highly recommend it. Let's get on to how I'm going to achieve my 24 books for my 2025 Goodreads challenge. Yes. Well, not only did my other phone give up, now my audio's given up, so apologies if the sound's echoey because we're in the living room and it's not great. So I have read 19 out of the 24 books so far, and I have 5 to go. What am I going to read to achieve that? And I know I've got 3 months. I've got the whole of October, November and December, but December gets busy, as we all know, because of Christmas, and then we end up not reading as much. I have started an anthology. So I bought this, I think it was last year, Weird Fiction, an anthology by Penguin. Is it Random House? No, just Penguin Weird Fiction. Love the cover. I've already read 2 of the stories in this so far. I am also going on holiday next Friday for 7 days. So I don't know if I will take my Kindle with me. I'll think about it. If I am, then I will probably look at the next Dinuka McKenzie book. Her third book in the Kate Miles series is called Tipping Point. There's one book I could read. Yeah, obviously I'm already reading this one. There are 9, and I've read The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe and The Monkey's Paw by W.W. Jacobs. There are stories in here by M.R. James, Vernon Lee, Arthur Conan Doyle, Edith Wharton, May Sinclair, H.P. Lovecraft and D.K. Broster. I'll probably get through that one quite rapidly and at least get a few more read before we go on holiday, if not finish it before we go on holiday. I was a little bit naughty and went and bought some more books. R.F. Kuang has another book out called Katabasis, which is a dark academia book, but it also, I think, is dark humour. So I know I'm going to love this, and I just couldn't resist. I will probably go for this book next, but I'm not sure. I also found Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. I studied this in year 9, and honestly you can't remember most of it because when you're forced to read a book, you don't enjoy it. So I wanted to go back to it and reread it. It's got a really beautiful cover. I really want to read this as well. You know, it's just one of these things with TBRs. All these books never enough time. There are 2 books on my TBR list that I have been wanting to sit down and read and I've not been in the mood for, or I haven't had time. And the first one is In Memoriam. I'm going to read the back of this for you. In 1914, war feels far away to Henry Gaunt, Sidney Elwood and the rest of their classmates, safely ensconced in their idyllic boarding school in the English countryside. So this is historical fiction. It's not based on a true story, but it's based on real events. At 17, they're too young to enlist, and anyway, Gaunt is busy fighting his own private battle, an all-consuming infatuation with his best friend, the dreamy, poetic Elwood, not having a clue that Elwood is in love with him, and always has been. When Gaunt's German mother asks him to enlist in the British Army to protect the family from anti-German attacks, Gaunt signs up immediately, relieved to escape his overwhelming feelings for Elwood. The front is horrific, of course, and though Gaunt tries to dissuade Elwood from following him to the battlefield, Elwood soon rushes to join him. Once in the trenches, Elwood and Gaunt find fleeting moments of solace in each other, but their friends are all dying in front of them, and at any moment they could be next. An epic tale of both the devastating tragedies of war and the forbidden romance that blooms in its grips. In Memoriam is a breathtaking debut and an LGBTQ+ love story. So I think I may have to read that one next after rereading that synopsis. I think it's going to make me cry already. And then the other book is James by Percival Everett. If you've not heard of this book, then you've obviously been hiding under a rock somewhere. I mean, I've got 3 months to get these books read, and if I read those 4 and I can do an ebook and 3 audiobooks in that time, I'm going to go over my 24. So I may actually get my Goodreads challenge done and above. I think I was just a little bit sceptical beforehand. This one's not a big book, but if you've not heard of this book, James is a powerful and enthralling novel inspiring us to see Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn in a wholly new and transformative light. From the shadows of Huck Finn's mischievous spirit, Jim emerges to reclaim his voice, defying the conventions that have consigned him to the margins. It's 1861, the Mississippi River. With this pencil I write myself into being. When the enslaved Jim overhears that he is about to be sold to a new owner in New Orleans, and be separated from his wife and daughter forever, he decides to hide on nearby Jackson Island until he can formulate a plan. Meanwhile, Huck Finn has faked his own death to escape his violent father, who recently returned to town. Thus begins a dangerous and transcendent journey by raft on the Mississippi River towards the elusive promise of the free states and beyond. As James and Huck navigate the treacherous waters, each bend in the river holds the promise of both salvation and demise. With rumours of a brewing war, James must face the burden he carries, the family he is desperate to protect, and the constant lie he must live. And together, the unlikely pair embark on the most dangerous and life-changing odyssey of them all. I don't know which one to read next. What do you think I should read next? I mean, let's discount this one. I'm going to get that one done anyway. That will be my 20th book. So, do I read In Memoriam next? Do I read James? Or do I read R.F. Kuang? Because I'll read Harper Lee, but I'll probably read her in November. That's my Goodreads challenge for you so far in 2025. And what I'm going to read in October. Let me know down in the comments which books you think I should read next. Let me know what you're reading.